thank you for being here.
Dude, it's such an honor.
Yeah, no, it's an honor having you, man. You came down straight from San Diego?
Yes, sir.
How was that drive?
It's okay.
That ride?
It's okay. I mean, any time on a bike is cool.
Yeah.
You know, so any excuse, I dig it. But, you know, LA traffic kind of sucks.
Let's talk about your bike, Streak Line. No, Ultra.
Yes, sir. It's a 2019 Ultra Limited.
You told me 3 times.
It is. It is
it down.
The grandpa of all grandpas, but I did the best I could to de-grandpa it.
Yeah.
So.
And you're rocking your headlights, a Baja, right?
Yeah. So I got the Baja Designs LP6. Got all my shop down in San Diego, Darkside Customs. They're phenomenal. Like they just know how everything goes together. I've told them like, hey, this is generally what I want. And they just, yep. Okay. They order the right shit. When I try to order stuff myself, I fuck it up. Like I just, I ordered what was it? It was like
windshield and you fucked it up. No, I'm kidding.
Not the windshield. That only because I was talking to the guy on the phone. Yeah. But I ordered something from Thrash, and it was a shift lever or something like that. And it was for the Dyna mid controls. I was like, oh, okay, I got a Dyna. No, I got a lowrider, so they're slightly forward. So it's the wrong shit. Like that's just what I do. I ordered the wrong shit, so I leave it to the pros. But yeah, no, the bike's great. The funny story, I got that bike on a total whim. So it was during COVID. So I got it in May of 20. It's a 19. It was a new bike, but I got it in May of 20. I walked into the dealership because they posted something like, hey, turn in your old helmet and you get $100 off or 20% off of a new one. So I wanted that Simpson modular that I have.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay, this is a good excuse. I'll go get, $100 off this helmet. So I walk in there, get the helmet, and I'm walking around because I'd wanted a bagger for a while. So I'm looking around, and then I just kind of wander over to the other side of the shop where they normally just have like Sportsters and smaller bikes. And there's this bike sitting there. And I asked the kid, I'm like, hey, what's the deal with this one? Because it didn't have the sticker on or anything. And he's like, well, I don't know. Let me go find out. So he comes back out like 10 minutes later. He's like, yeah, this is, it's last year's year model. And I can't remember exactly what the price was, but it was like $9,000 less than the current year model. And it's the same bike.
Right.
There was absolutely no difference between 19 and 20.
Right.
And I'm like, well, shit, I guess I need to buy this thing.
Absolutely.
So I walk in to get a helmet and walk out with a.
Did they call you later and say, hey, we fucked up? It wasn't supposed to be $9,000 less?
No, that was the sticker price. And I guess, so it was all chrome, I mean, it was very grandpa when I got it. So I think that was probably part of the reason,
Everybody wants everything blacked out.
They wanted it blacked out and stuff. So I rocked that thing for the first year. So I got that in May of 20 and rode the shit out of it. I mean, I've got 47,000 miles on it now, I think. So I went to Sturgis last year with some buddies, and on the way back, we were coming through. We had just gone through Durango, Colorado, and heading like towards Four Corners, the actual Four Corners area. And we went through this crazy hailstorm, and I went down. So we were going up this hill, and it was rain a little bit, and then it started to things started to bounce off the windshield a little bit. I'm like, well, this kind of sucks, but just keep going. And we start to crest this hill, and at this point, I mean, it's like legit hail, like rocks coming out of the sky. And I was just trying to stay in the lane, the lane that the tire makes, and cars started locking up, spinning out, crashing out the top of the hill. So I got on the brakes a little bit, and I guess I got outside of that lane, and just the bike went out from under me, spun around a little bit on the ground. I was fine. The bike was okay. I still rode it from Colorado all the way home at that point, but it worked out because I took it to my shop, and they did the insurance work, and that's why it looks the way it does now.
That's why I was able to badass and blacked
out.
I keep getting confused for a street light.
Yeah, everybody does. So no, it's a great bike.
What other things did you do to the bike? What suspension you're running? Exhaust?
I've got Race Tech front and rear. I think it's 13s in the rear. I'm not a very tall guy, so and those bikes are as you know, they're kind of heavy. So like I have to be strategic when I park that thing to make sure that I can get it out. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I've had to have my buddies help push me out.
It happens.
Yeah. So
especially when you had to push it backwards.
Right. Exactly. Not good. So I went with 13s in the rear. I've got the Race Tech drop ins in the front. So that changed everything dramatically. I've got some carbon on there from Sly Fox. The San Diego Customs seat. With the backrest, I think you had the same one on there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I just rode a crap.
Do you push? I apologize. Do you push the that little backrest a little forward?
You know what? I haven't really messed with it.
You might want to do that.
Yeah,
you might want to do that because I've owned a few street glides. Mm-hmm. That's the first time. Like usually, I jump on a street glide and we're similar height.
Yeah,
I've always felt like even I was kind of big for this bike.
Yeah,
I'm kind of big. I changed that seat. That seat drops you and pushes you back.
Yeah.
So you're kind of reaching for your controls.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to shift gears.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you're right. I am.
No, it because it drops and pushes you back.
Yeah.
If you can bring it out like about 2 inches, it's enough support, and it actually kind of feels good. It's enough support where it brings you closer and you feel better.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that. Yeah, because I haven't really messed with it. There was a few times on this last long couple of rides that I did where I was kind of messing with it, but I was like, screw it, I'm fine. I'll just gut it out.
Yeah, because I also have a Saddleman on my BMW, and it has that lumbar piece, and I push it forward, but that seat's so far back it doesn't even touch me. Like
really?
it's just like
it's there.
It's there.
Yeah.
But on the street line, it really did push me back too. I felt more corrected.
Right.
Right on. Try that.
Yeah, I'll definitely try that. What else do I got on there?
Clockworks windshield.
Yeah, Clockworks
that's
windshield.
A 6-inch or 9?
That is I think that's just the 6. Okay. I believe. Yeah. I put flow, everything. So the floorboards, the levers are flow.
Grips.
The grips. So it's heated. I've got heated grips on there.
So you left them stock.
So I left that stock. And then when I was in Sturgis last year, we stopped by the D&D tent, and I hated the exhaust, so I was like, okay, I'll change the exhaust while I'm here. Good deal, it's pretty cheap, and then they install it for free. And so again, on a complete whim, I ended up with the Billet Cat 2-into-1 exhaust, the Trask intake. I did the Zipper Redshift 464 cams, and I think and the Power Max tuner is in there as well.
Oh, nice.
So on a complete whim, again, you can tell I'm a little impulsive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was like riding a whole different bike on the way back home after that.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. What else have I done to that thing? I think that's about it. I changed the wheels on the Ultra. The front wheel, I think, is like a 17, I think. So it was a little smaller. So I just put some wheels were tough to come by when I was redoing all this. Right, yeah. So I got a hold of, what are those things? I already forgot. But they're just like a older stock wheel. Yeah. But a little bit bigger.
Like 19 or something. Right?
I think they're 8, maybe, is it 19, 18, 19? I don't know. It just looks a little bit better because the stock wheel on the Ultra it was just ugly.
How long have you been into motorcycles, and when did you get started with motorcycles?
I grew up on the back of my mom's bike. So when I was
back of your mom's bike, that's badass.
Yeah. So when I was 4 or 5, she got a bike. Yeah, and some of the best memories that I have are on the back of my mom's bike. My stepdad at the time, he rode a bunch. The family had a club, so we would just get together and just ride all over the place, post up at some random rally camp, and it was the best.
So you were practically raised on a bike.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on the back of my mom's bike, and then I rode some when I was in high school. I got a what was that, Kawasaki 250 Ninja.
Yeah.
Almost killed myself on that a couple of times, scared me, so I kind of put it away for a little bit. And then I didn't ride a whole bunch. I didn't ride the entire time I was in the Navy. I heard more so for the Marines, but I heard like the military disencourages it a lot. Yeah, they make it very complicated.
I've heard, especially with Marines, this is just what I heard. I don't know who they are, but based off what I remember, they were losing more soldiers, more Marines on motorcycle accidents than war.
Yeah.
So they were like, you fuckers can't do this.
Yeah, no, they make it very complicated just to, you got to do the safety course, which is great. I did a safety course when I started riding again.
Yeah, super necessary.
But there's all kinds of paperwork and stuff that you have to do. And then to get on base, you've got to wear, if you're going to ride on base, you got to wear all kinds of stuff. So it's just a pain in the ass, and the command is always, in your business. So it just wasn't worth it to me.
Well, they're fucking investing so much money into you, training you and fucking equipment.
Right.
That it just becomes a humongous liability.
Yeah.
But I heard it was more like for the Marines.
The Marines are definitely, it's a thing. Yeah. I mean, you ride up and down the 5 and go past Camp Pendleton, and there's, kids on sport bikes just flying all over the place. So, it's an issue.
It's a big issue.
Yeah. But they still ride. I mean, it's.
So you joined the Navy. What were you doing before you joined the Navy, and what made you join the Navy?
Well, my fascination with flying started with Top Gun, the first one.
What's that?
The movie. Come on now.
What's that? Who plays in it?
Right, exactly. So yeah, that thing came out in mid-'80s, whatever it was, and I was just fascinated by it. So I watched it 1,000 times.
How many people do you think joined the military because of that movie?
So in my generation,
and
I say this all the time, in my generation, if a fellow pilot told me that they didn't want to fly, be a naval pilot because of Top Gun, I'm like, you're fucking lying. You're so full of shit. They're like, oh, no, I'm a legacy. Like, okay, sure, your dad flew, great. But, I would say the majority of people, that was it. Absolutely.
Recruiting power right there.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I started, so I was watching that movie, and then I was like, well, I got to start flying now.
Yeah.
And so I talked to my dad, and I was like, hey, I really want to start flying. And he's like, okay, well, your grandmother left you a little bit of money, so if that's what you want to do with it, go ahead. So I started flying down at Montgomery Field in San Diego when I was 15, I think. And at the time, you had to be 15 and a half to solo. So I was right about 15 and a half when I soloed. I mean, it's just a little Piper Tomahawk, little teeny tiny airplane. But, man, I felt like I was fucking Maverick when I was ripping around in that thing. So yeah, that stuck. I really enjoyed it. Flew a bunch when I was younger, and then then I just got really fascinated by business stuff. And I was going to go to college in San Francisco State.
And just for the record, you grew up. Everything we're talking about is in San Diego.
In San Diego, yeah. I mean, there was a period of time. From second to 7th grade, we lived up in Ventura, Oxnard area.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part.
You're SoCal.
But yeah, San Diego.
Born and raised.
Through and through. Yeah. Like my entire.
Santiago.
Yeah. My entire time in the Navy, except for flight school and deployments, I was still stationed in San Diego. I did everything I could to stay in San Diego.
Coronado.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean So when I graduated high school, I was supposed to go up to San Francisco to go to school. I get up there, and I find this ad in a newspaper. This is 1990, so there's no internet. It was just I was on the BART one day, and I'm looking through the paper, and there's a help wanted.
BART.
Yeah. There was a help wanted ad, like, hey, be a stockbroker. I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to be a stockbroker. Like, what do I got to do? And so it turns out it was like Wolf of Wall Street shit. I mean, it was a penny stock firm. I didn't know any different. Right. But I show up there. They're like, yeah, you just got to pay us $700, and we'll get you in a class to study for at the time it was the Series 7 and 63 exam. I think it might still be the same. But I was 18. I sat through the class, took the test, I passed it, and I showed up, and they're like, all right, there's your desk. Start dialing, you know.
Pick up the phone and start dialing.
That was it.
Yeah, drive a piece of shit car. Good. How fucking good was that?
That's a good movie.
And you started doing that?
I did. That's it. I mean, I would dial the phone, 300 to 500 times a day.
What was I'm sorry, I got to ask it, but what was do you remember the pitch? Like,
it was,
like,
I mean, it just depended on whatever. So the company that I was working for, I think it was Thomas James. So they're long gone, and most of the guys probably ended up in jail or something. Yeah,
company from the 90s.
They're right,
selling penny stocks.
A little sketch.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever it was, they were big in IPOs. So whatever the flavor of the month was, that's
right.
That's what we were selling. So I actually got pretty lucky, because when I showed up, the company that was doing the IPO actually turned out to be a fairly legit company, and I didn't know.
That's your side of the story.
Yeah, no,
I'm kidding.
Really did, and so so I'm dialing and I'm selling shit, and it turns out I'm putting people in this company at $1 a share, and within 6 months that thing was over $20, and so I had made a bunch of money, clients had made a bunch of money.
So people did good.
Yeah, they did good. So I was like, of course, in my all that experience of 8 months, I was like, oh well, I got this shit figured out.
Yeah,
I've got a bunch of money. I'm just going to go buy my own. So I went and bought, me and some other guys, we went and bought our own broker-dealer shell, took the Series 24 exam, which you had to have to be a principal. And we opened up our own shop in San Francisco and started.
You opened up your own firm. So
yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. I think I had just about turned 19 when we opened up shop. So we had, I don't know, I think we got up to like 30, 35 brokers in that office. And then the guy that we bought the broker dealer from, or bought into with him, he had a shop in Beverly Hills. We had, I don't know, a dozen or so people down there. So yeah, I mean, it turned out to be
legit.
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly legit, and so things were going really well, and I decided, like, okay, I don't want to work this hard managing everybody, so I brought in a branch manager, and the guy had recently done real estate limited partnership type stuff, and he's like, oh, you got to check this out, like this is the way to go. I'm like, okay, what do you got? And so we started doing some smaller development things. He had money coming from overseas in Singapore, so we did a few small things. It worked. We made a bunch of money. His investors made money. And then we got dialed in on this big piece of property in the East Bay of San Francisco. We were going to build 210 houses, do this whole development thing. And we were cruising along. Everything was great. And the investors called us one day. It was like, hey, we're going to fly in. We want to just take a look around, but we're going to fly into LA. We're going to talk to some people in LA first and then head up to see you. I'm like, okay, great. So they show up after they had been to LA and get there, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to do this deal. I'm like, what? What do you mean we're not going to? No, we're going to, some family has something in LA. We're going to do that instead. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, we're way down this road. We had bought the option on the property.
Yeah. How long was the initial commitment to when they broke down they weren't going to do it?
It was probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so.
Yeah. Something
like that. But we had already bought the option on the property, and
yeah, you guys were moving forward.
And to have a broker dealer at least 30 years ago, I have no idea what it is now, but you had to have a certain amount of money in an escrow account set aside. Well, we were kind of playing in the gray area. We're like, well, there's nothing that says that that money can't be, earmarked for this and this. And so that's the money that we had in for that option. We also, kind of earmarked it as our escrow money to keep the thing going. And so when they backed out, we tried to find people to come in and finance it. And in the interim, while we're kind of, before everything started to fall apart, we had, they used to go by Kaufman and Broad, now KB. Kaufman and Broad approached us. They're like, hey, we want that property. We'll double your money on the option. We're like, no, fuck no. Like, we must be onto something here. If KB wants it, we're good. We're going to make a lot of money here. And so when everything fell apart, I don't know this for sure, but my opinion is that, some of the bigger developers were like, why would we give them money to have them develop it? We'll just wait for them to fall apart and we'll go and buy it. And that's exactly what happened. So there's 210 houses that was developed by Kaufman and Broad sitting out there that, should have been mine.
We should go over there and take that shit.
I know. Yeah.
That's fucked up how those deals are.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good lesson, Luckily, I was only 19 when it happened, and everything fell apart.
What would you do, or what would you advise yourself now? Like, if you go back and whisper to your 19-year-old self, would it be hold on longer, or get the funds? Don't put.
For just that deal alone, it probably would have been. I mean, I'm much more conservative now. I'm 50. I was 19 at the time. I would have been like, hey man, you're good, doing the stocks, that stuff, that's good. Just stick with that. You don't know the first thing about real estate. Like, don't even mess with that. And
that's wow. Not even take the double deal.
Yeah.
Not even, it wasn't worth the headache.
Yeah. I mean, in hindsight, that's why I lost everything, was from the real estate stuff.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So I don't know. I mean, everything happens for a reason. When that fell apart and we realized, we couldn't operate without the escrow money in there, the NASD would have caught on pretty quick. And we're like, called everybody in like, hey, party's over. They're like, what? Like, yeah, party's over. We fucked up. It's all gone.
So how does this transition into you joining the Navy?
So when all that fell apart, I was like, well, shit, I should, maybe I don't know everything I thought I knew. Maybe I should go to college. So I went back to San Diego with my tail between my legs, and I was like, yeah, I should probably go to school. And so I went to San Diego State, and at the time when I first went back to San Diego State, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to be, I either want to be a lawyer or something. I'm like, I was studying political science. Like, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do, but this course of study was really interesting. And I'm in a class one day, and this guy walks in, and he's in service dress blue uniforms, Navy service dress blue uniform. And he sits down, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing here? Like, that's kind of cool. And so it took me a little while to get up the nerve to talk to him. I was like, hey man, so what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I'm in ROTC. They're paying for my school, and when I'm done, I'm going to go and be an officer in the Navy. I'm like, fuck, I started to remember, like, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. And so I went through the course catalog again. This at this point it's 1994, I think. Yeah. And so I'm going through the course catalog. There was nothing, the internet didn't really exist. And I was looking for the ROTC section, which in retrospect, like, ROTC programs are big programs at universities.
Reserve Officer Training Corps.
Yeah.
They pretty much allow you. They train you what you need to know so you can join as an officer.
Right, yeah. So it's
climbing up the ranks.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to become an officer in the Navy. You can go to the Naval Academy. So, and this is for any branch. You can go to their service academy. You can go through ROTC, which means you go to a regular college and you dress up and you play Navy once a week and, go through all that kind of stuff. And then there's officer candidate school, which you go through college yourself. And then when you graduate, you go to a 13-week, indoctrination program. And when you're done with that, then you're an officer. So when I was looking through the course catalog, I'm like, this is, I really want to do this. And I couldn't find, or I came across this other paragraph first, and it was just this small paragraph. It explained the program that I eventually applied to and got accepted to. It's called what was it called? It's a baccalaureate degree completion program. So the deal was, if you get accepted, you enlist for pay purposes. You're not allowed to wear a uniform. You don't march around. You don't do anything. You're in this program, and you're guaranteed a slot in whatever officer program you wanted to go into. So I wanted to be a pilot. I passed all their exams, got accepted into it. So I had a guaranteed slot in flight school so long as I passed all the medical board stuff. And obviously I got commissioned. I passed, went through OCS and graduated OCS. So that was the program I went into. I had somebody hit me up, like a year after I was in it, and they're like, hey, what's the program? And I went back through trying to find it in the catalog. Again, I couldn't find it. So it was just so random that I came across that program at the time. It worked out perfect. I graduated, went to officer candidate school down in Pensacola, Florida, which is controlled.
That's nice. That's a nice training.
Yeah, so it's all Marine Corps drill instructors. Yeah, it's well, I mean, it was hot as shit. Like
I'm sure I
grew up in San Diego, so we don't have real thunderstorms in Southern California.
Yeah, we don't have storms.
So I remember the day I flew into Pensacola. It was nighttime by the time I landed, and I get off and I'm in the airport. It's not a very big airport. And there's just this massive light show outside. And I'm looking, I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I get in
it's big thunder cloud.
Oh, it was massive. I mean, I was looking for a Thunder Buddy at the time.
Thunder Buddy.
Like, it was fucking scary. That was, I forget that was
Will Ferrell.
Bear.
Oh, no.
It's the one with the little,
Mark Wahlberg and Ted.
Yeah, Ted. That's right.
Yeah. Thunder Buddy.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty intense storm. And the weather down there, it was
crazy.
I'm not used to humidity, so I went through OCS from June. I reported in June, like mid-June, and graduated in September. So I spent the entire summer, getting
hurricane season,
getting beat up by Marine Corps drill instructors when it's, 90 degrees outside and 90% humidity. I mean, it would just...
And randomly get rained on.
Yeah,
and it would randomly.
Yeah, it would just rain and stop, and But I mean, we were getting our ass kicked all the time, so we weren't really paying attention to if we were getting rained on. Like, okay, great, this sucks even more.
Yeah. It's still better than Chicago.
I've never been. That's enlisted boot camp. I couldn't imagine having to go through that in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Oof. Fuck that. Like, I don't do winter. Like, I like to visit snow. I'll go skiing.
I like to see it on my TV.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to drive in it. I don't want to scrape a windscreen. I don't want to have to dig my way out of my driveway. No, I don't want anything to do with that. I'll visit it, and hopefully it doesn't actually snow.
And if
while
we
I was
visit
there.
if we visit, it's only 2 hours away, an hour and away.
Right.
Go to Lake Arrowhead, check it out, take a few pictures, post it on social media, come back. That's it. And then go back another hour and go to the desert and fucking ride a dirt bike or something.
Right, yeah.
Go to the beach, whatever the case is.
Yeah, no, we're pretty spoiled.
We're extremely spoiled, except our government and laws and the homeless and rents and real estate. But everything else is fucking great.
Right, yeah. And
I love California.
And the $7.50 I just paid for gas in town.
$7.50 a gallon, huh?
Yeah, that kind of hurt. I mean, it's... It just I feel awful for people that if you're just scraping by and you're living paycheck to paycheck, $7.50 a gallon.
Dude, that's $21 for 3 gallons.
Yeah, and we're on bikes, so it's not that huge of a thing. But
bullshit. My BMW is 8 gallons.
Is it
7.8?
Yeah.
So you calculate that. Like I'm paying almost $50 for a motorcycle
to fill up a motorcycle.
Like how the fuck? And that's only 230, 240 miles. Like how does that even make sense?
That makes zero sense. I don't get it.
I don't even see the solution to how this is going to get solved. And I heard next month it's going even more.
Well, there is there is basic economics that can be in play. Supply and demand. Prices are determined by supply and demand. So when we shut off everything, in the U.S., then, supply went down, demand is the same, so the price is going to go up. So, I ride motorcycles, I make memes, I make fun of things. I don't get into politics that much, but, it's not rocket science here. You increase the supply and the price is going to go down. So
I was talking to a buddy of mine about real estate, and I was like, are these housing prices going to go down? He's like, probably not. I go, what do you mean probably not? Like, usually there's a correction. Usually shit blows up and there's a correction. He goes, but it's probably not going to happen just for the simple fact that the cost of building a house is higher now than it's ever been. Labor's more, insurance is more, supplies are less. So the actual cost of building a house today compared to what it was any time ago.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So new build construction to physically put up the structure. Yeah, those prices have gone up significantly. But the market overall, it's already, and I don't know about up in LA, but in San Diego.
And you're in real estate. This is why we're bringing this up.
Yeah. 3 months ago, 4 months ago, I could throw a house on the market. I didn't have to stage it. I didn't have to do anything fancy. Just put it on the market. And
Cash.
by the end of that first weekend, I'd have 10, 20 offers, bid it up, get the best deal, cash, pretty much only cash or really good terms. And then it was gone, just in the last 2 months, it's not the same. Like there is a noticeable difference, and I'm not saying it's, things are crashing, but things are a little bit more normal. And, I think it's a mix. Interest rates have doubled in the last 3 months. A year ago, 6 months ago, the interest rate for a 30-year mortgage was, 2%, 2.25%, something like that. It's 5. It's over 5 now. So you compare or you put a 5% mortgage rate on 2022 prices, and that mortgage payment just went out of reach for most people. People don't buy a house; they buy a mortgage payment.
Right.
You go to your lender and you say, qualify me, and they come back. Okay, this is what you're qualified for. This is the payment. A lot of times you're qualified for more than that amount, but you're like, no, all I can afford is, whatever, $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month. And so you go out and you find a house that you can buy for $4,000 a month. It doesn't, the overall purchase price isn't that huge in the calculation. So now, interest rates are doubled. You can still only afford a $4,000 a month mortgage payment. And then you start looking at the houses that'll buy. And you're like, no, I'm out. Like that's not going to happen. And so the market has definitely slowed down. That's what interest rates are for, right? Interest rates are to heat things up or cool things off. And, we are obviously in, state of massive inflation. And that's, so whether or not the Fed was going to come out and start raising rates, which they did, and they're going to keep doing, but the markets are going to build that in. The mortgage rates are based off of the 10-year Treasury, and the 10-year Treasury yields have just been, they've been going through the roof. And that's, the markets have a way of balancing things out on their own. So that's going to slow things down.
How off money, the price of selling, the house selling, and interest rate fluctuating, how much does it affect the price? Like, for example, if the rate's low, usually the housing market's getting higher and higher because people are buying more houses.
Yeah, because the money's cheap.
Yeah, because money's cheap, so people start raising the price of the house. So it's kind of like this. But when they raise the interest, then the prices come down. Yeah, but doesn't that kind of even out?
It does, and I hope that interest rates. I think interest rates by the end of next year will probably be in the sixes, mid sixes, which a year ago they were
2,
less than 2. So that people look at that, they're like, oh, that's crazy. Nobody can afford that. Well, historically, mid sixes is about, that's still historically pretty low.
Yeah, but that's when houses were selling for like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000.
Right. Yeah. So I think as the interest rates creep up there, it's putting the brakes on. It already is putting the brakes on. Things will slow down, and I think things will start to balance out. I mean, prices are going to come down a little bit. I mean, they have to. Yeah. Everybody has a ton of equity in their houses now, so there's not some huge rush to sell, or they're going to feel like they're upside down. So if people do need to sell, or they're like, okay, it's time to, market's coming down, maybe I should take the money and run now, there's still lots of room. Where it can get a little scary is, if it gets to a point where people have to sell, and they just have to take whatever they can get, then prices can start falling more rapidly. So I don't know where it'll end up. I wish I had that crystal ball. But I think things are going to level out. I mean, it has to. The markets in general, the markets in general for everything are just, there's no logic. So, I mean, a year and a half ago, we were in the middle of a global pandemic. The world economy is shut down. Oil prices are at 0 to negative. And the stock market's still going crazy and the housing market's still going crazy. Like, where's the fucking logic in that? There's no logic. The only reason is because there was free money. Interest rates were, 1.5 points. Anybody with decent credit can go out and buy whatever they want. So things I think are going to start. I mean, we've seen it in the last week. The S&P is down.
Crypto.
People are talking about bear market territory. Crypto's taking a dump. Housing market is starting to calm down. So it's, for those of us that own things, you get used to seeing, your portfolio at this price. You're like, oh, this is great. This needs to keep going. You own a house and it's, doubled in value. You're like, oh, this is great. But you have to know that this isn't real. Like this hasn't been real. There's no logic behind where these markets have been. So if you're paying attention and you have a half a brain in your head, you have to know that these things are going to start coming down. And it's the smart people that weren't way overextended as everything starts to kind of not collapse, but kind of reset. They'll be able to weather this, go to cash. And when everything kind of slows down and there's resets, then you've got the cash and the ability to go in and start buying stuff for cheap and, wait for the next cycle.
Yeah. But what happened this time is much different than any time before. Because I know a lot of property owners, and they were like, I had a property for $900,000. It just sold for 1.4. And to be honest, I don't know if that was the right thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Should I have waited? Could I have gotten, more?
Right. And then they have their other properties, and then they sold more and more. And they're like, dude, I don't know what to do. Yeah. Because the other big thing was the whole COVID restrictions, and you couldn't kick people out.
Right.
So that was causing a shortage of, places to live and properties and evictions and everything else. Which I think is still going on in L.A.
In L.A., I think so. San Diego, it's not. It's not. It's not a thing in San Diego.
Was it a thing?
It was. Yeah. There was a moratorium on
6 months.
Yeah, whatever. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, like you could not evict anybody for a while. Like this is, That's crazy.
Fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
As soon as people found out, they're like, "What?
Yeah, I'm not
Fuck
paying
it.
anything."
I don't know. Why would I?
Right? Yeah.
The laws protected me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still going on. It's still going on. I don't know what the terms are. I don't know how much longer. I don't know when it's going to change, but it's, last I heard, full on.
Yeah.
So that means it's almost 2 years.
That's crazy.
People living without rent and people that own the properties without collecting rent.
Right. Yeah.
And I heard they're not getting much breaks.
And and I mean, that just goes to show you how stupid this market is, because prices are still going up.
Yeah.
Prices are still going up, even though you're not collecting any rents.
Yeah.
You know, it makes no sense.
But the part of it going up is because there's just a shortage of properties now, because people are occupying it without making any money. So then whatever sells is very limited. Yeah,
and again, back to, interest rates were low, so
interest rates were low.
Money was super cheap, so it was easy. So I think now that interest rates are creeping up, I think everything will start to get back to some sense of normalcy. I don't know what the new normal is going to be, but what we've been watching is certainly not sustainable.
And then just to pick your brain, COVID, is it real? Is it fake? No, I mean, whatever. It's real. It's happening. It's people are getting sick, but like, how much of it is like government control?
Yeah, I know. I was listening.
I don't even know if you're much of a conspiracy.
No, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I mean, I think politicians, when they first start running for office, most of them, I think, have genuine goals. Their hearts are genuine. Like, I'm going to get in office and I'm going to change things. You get into office and then you want to stay in office. And, you're in office for a long time, and then you get into Congress, and, the power that comes with being in office and being a committee chairman and being the Speaker of the House and all that kind of stuff. You get used to that, and you don't want to lose it. So you do things.
Grease the right hand.
So you do things to stay in power, and again, I'm not super political. I've studied it a ton. I have opinions. I know that we are as divided a nation now as we were before the Civil War. I mean, I remember when I was in college, I'd sit back and I read a ton, and I remember I would get on a kick of, the Civil War, and I'd read everything I could. And by the time I was done, I'd sit back and I'd think, I was like, wow, man, I'm glad we got that over with. Like, I couldn't imagine. And then, I'd get on a kick of reading about stuff in the 60s, and I'm like, wow, I'm glad we got over that. I'm glad we don't have to deal with that again. And, sadly, we're there. We are as divided a nation as we have ever been in our history. And, so my personal opinion, is that yes, COVID is serious, but there are lots of other things that is very serious as well. And it just became another tool to divide, to make Trump
manipulate,
to make Trump look bad. And, so the left was trying to make Trump look bad, insensitive. And then the right is like, well, anything that the left's for, we're against. So we have to go, to the other extreme and call it a hoax. And, so like, we're just on all of these extremes. And next thing we know, we're shutting down a world economy over, a flu virus. Granted, it's a serious flu virus, but obesity is serious. Cancer is serious. I mean, there's, drug addiction,
alcoholism, overdose.
Fentanyl is a I mean, I don't know the number specifically, but I would venture to guess that we lose more people from fentanyl overdoses than we have for COVID. So I just think it became a tool to divide, and, it was the thing that the left could get a hold of, and it was working. and it made Trump look bad. And, you know, whether that was the final straw that got him out of office or not, you know, but it certainly was a significant tool. And so then, you know, when the right loses, then they double down and like everything's a hoax, and we gotta beat back all this other stuff so that we can get back into power. So it's just a big fight for power, and it's all a bunch of bullshit.
It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's very unfortunate because it costs the people a lot. And the division nowadays is fucking insane because it's race, it's color, it's everything. Left side, right side. It's what? Oh, you're from San Diego? Fuck San Diego.
Fuck
LA,
San Diego.
Man.
Right.
Oh, you're from LA? Fuck LA. You know, like it's stupid. NorCal, SoCal.
Right.
You're what zip code are you in? What area code are you in? What street block are you on?
Yeah.
Like any way they can divide you up.
It is.
They do it. They do it.
And in the process,
your bike's 2019.
Right. Like exactly. Like, oh, you got a Batwing? Oh, no, we're Road Glides only over here.
Oh, you took your touring pack off?
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. And you know, in the process, we have run up, I mean, I don't remember the exact stat, but the amount of money that's been printed and in circulation, you know, since COVID and since we started giving out all that money, you know, in the history of U.S. money in circulation, you know, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was
40% or something. It was like 45% of all money that's ever
been printed for the United States
in the last year and a half.
In the last year and a half.
Fucking what?
Right. And you wonder why, you know, gas is $7.50 and lumber prices are the way they are, and you can't find a car, and you know, you wonder why.
There's a system that people just don't comprehend. It's like the whole thing of like, oh, Jeff Bezos doesn't pay taxes. Let's force him to pay taxes. Right. If you force him to pay taxes, he's not going to pay taxes. He's still not going to pay it because that money that he gets charged extra, he's going to take it off. He's going to charge more for Amazon products.
Absolutely.
He's going to charge more for the employees. He's going to charge more. You know, it's everybody else deals with the consequence. What we have to write is he's offering this many jobs. He's offering a cheap, affordable service that delivers to your house within 24 hours.
Right.
And those are the things that you have to appreciate. But everybody, the left is, fuck him. And they don't know that that's a ripple effect.
And then on the other side, everybody on the right is like, you know, it's you know, the power of the market and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, the amount of money that gets funneled into politics to make sure that the policies are favorable to business and stuff. I mean, none of that stuff is right. I mean, it's just all...
No, it's all corrupt and fucked up. It's all like an old system. Like I just heard about, and this is a small scale of what we're talking about, but I heard car dealerships. They're part of this whole thing where they pay their local government and they pay everybody so they can have a dealership, and people are forced to buy a car at a dealership.
Right.
And this is why you can't go to Costco or Target and just pick up a little brochure. I want this car and just pay a flat rate.
Right.
And that's it, kind of like what Tesla's doing.
Yeah.
So dealerships are paying for it, you know, to control that. And this happens across the board with every company out there and every service that you need to get.
Yeah. There's a reason why most of the office buildings around Washington, D.C. are filled by lobbyists and lobbying firms.
Yeah,
there's a reason for that. I mean, that's been a thing. That's been a thing since the beginning. I mean, lobbying, that the term is based on, you know, lobbyists, people that wanted something, going and hanging out in the lobby of Congress, hanging out in the lobby of the White House. And, you know, I mean, that's always been a thing. And you know, so long as money is allowed to come into politics the way it is now, you know, if you've got money, you're going to get what you want. If you don't have money, you know, it's going to be a little bit harder. And you know, I think that's where the left and right are still trying to divide everybody. It's like, well, if you don't have money, you know, the left, we're for you. We're going to give you everything that you want. You know, the result is $7.50 a gallon for gas and inflation at
and
the way it is. There's no free money.
There's none.
There's no free money. Like you print it, everything's
it gets affected.
Yeah,
yeah, raising everything up to $15 an hour, and then guess what? Now everything else goes up.
Yeah, and boomers, God bless them, they're not going to have to pay that bill. It's our kids, and our grandkids. They're going to have to figure that out. And I don't know how they're going to figure that out. I mean, I don't even know what the national debt is now. I'd be afraid to know.
Gazillions.
I mean, it's.
I read a post one time, and it's like last time that it was at 20 trillion or 19 trillion or something like that. It says the U.S. debt is $19 trillion. Who the fuck do we?
Who do we owe? Yeah,
for Thanos.
Yeah, I saw that post too.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
yeah. I thought that was. Yeah, who do we owe that money to?
Yeah, well, I know, it's the people buying all those treasuries, and it's other governments around the world that know their currency isn't reliable. So they're like, as fucked up as the U.S. is, their currency's pretty reliable. Like Uncle Sam's going to pay.
Yeah.
So let's just keep pumping the money in there.
What do you think of UBI?
UBI.
Universal Basic Income.
No, it's not. I mean, it has to. So this is where I've always struggled. Is I'm certainly more of a fiscal conservative, but you can't have unfettered capitalism, because then you end up, with monopolies, and it's just that doesn't work, and you can't have, communism doesn't work. We've seen that, so there has to be some sort of middle ground. And I think that's one of the main purposes of government is to help keep that in balance. But I think we've just.
But the UBI was kind of introduced to be that middle ground, in the sense of, if you look at employment, if you look at males from the age of 18 to 55, more than 50%, let's just say 51%. More than 51% of males from the age of 18 to 55 years old drive as a profession. They're an Uber driver, taxi driver, truck driver, shipping driver, garbage driver. That's what they do.
Yeah.
In 5 years and 10 years and 20 years, when you have self-driving cars, which I'll bring up another point to that, now you have that many men in the United States that don't have work.
Job, yeah.
So, and the companies that, switch over their cars, now they don't have to pay unemployment, an employee, their insurance is cheaper, this, that. So the idea is to tax them and then create that into a UBI, universal basic income, because the 55-year-olds or the 40-year-olds, they're not going to learn code right away. It's going to be a new transition. And this is happening across the board. Same thing with Amazon. Amazon employs X amount of people.
Right.
But once you start making everything automated and, artificial intelligence.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's
that's kind of the, obviously, it's not the socialism, like my family, my background's Cuban.
Right.
So Cuba's been like that for 60 something years.
Right. Yeah.
That's not the way.
From personal experience.
It's
not the way.
There's certain things that are kind of cool, like everybody's fucking educated, everybody knows how to fucking read, and everybody has a profession. But like when you're a fucking doctor and you're making $20 a month, that's not cool.
Yeah.
And if you want to advance, that's not cool.
Right.
If you want to learn about other things, so obviously,
right.
But that's why it sparks my interest, because I do believe that we're gonna get to a point where it's like, what the fuck are you going to work at?
Yeah, and I think that is one of the other instances where government is important. There should be, some sort of the market's going to work people out of a job, and those people need to learn new skills, and not everybody can afford the time or whatever to try to learn those new skills. So that could be a good use of government to help that transition. I don't know the answer to that. I just, we know from the last year and a half, giving people money to not work is going to encourage them to not work.
It's a shit show.
I mean, that's why there probably were no Xboxes on the market, because everybody was like, oh, I got money, I'm going to go buy an Xbox now, instead of saving that money and maybe studying a new skill or realizing that the job they had
Investing in
before
yourself, yeah.
they hated, so they need to transition into something else when all of this goes away. But no, I think 90% of the people it's just went out and bought stupid shit.
Dumb shit.
Yeah.
I usually go to Vegas frequently.
Yeah.
And during those COVID times, man, it was a whole new crowd.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about like a crowd that you usually do not see in Vegas. And all of them were coming from the Crystal shop with Louis Vuitton bags,
really?
Nike bags.
Yeah.
And like even my host was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
they're just blowing their fucking money on goodies and bullshit. And,
yeah.
And it's like everywhere. And it just caused this effect of the class of the casino,
yeah, the
safety of the casino, the attitude of the casino. It was very fucking ugly.
Yeah.
So I see that point to it too. That's valid. But like, where's the limit? Where does it stop?
Yeah. And that's the hard part is government has a place in society, but now that political parties have, they are so ingrained and there are no term limits. So you've got people, in Congress, in the Senate, their entire life, they're going to do whatever they can to stay there. And, so then government starts to lose the purpose. It's government for the purpose of keeping governors in power, as opposed to government for the purpose of making the life of citizens easier, better, whatever the case is.
Did you ever hear about how they wanted to separate California into like 7 different states?
Yeah.
Did you what was your thoughts on
that? I mean, I think I didn't put much thought into it, actually. I mean, it was never going to happen. And that's just Northern California people being so different and anti-SoCal, part of the dividing. I mean, I think that's a perfect example of like how we're creating division, like
more division.
The states are what they are. They, that's been established for a long time.
I get it. I get it.
But why are we wasting money and time, debating whether or not?
I get it. But what I liked about it was that, and this is kind of like the whole government thing. Like there's not one thing that solves all issues, right? And part of that proposal for the 7 states, which it's never going to happen, but cutting up California to 7 or 5, whatever it was, is that California is number 1, a big state. Each city has a different problem.
Right.
San Diego has a border problem.
Yeah.
San Francisco has a tech and technology and city blah blah problem. Mm-hmm. Los Angeles is fucking LA. The Central Coast has they grow all the what do you call it? All the food. Fucking
grapes for the wines,
agriculture
stuff. Yeah.
Like what is it? 60% or 50% of all lettuce, tomatoes, all that stuff comes from California. So, and
rice.
Rice.
Like California is the largest rice producer, certainly of the U.S. I don't know.
Martinelli apple juice. It's fucking, it's humongous.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you have one government controlling a whole state, you can't get to everything.
Right.
And certain things are just in the back burner. Let's focus on this issue. Let's focus on that issue. And that's it. Yeah. So a lot of stuff doesn't get resolved.
Yeah.
So that's why when it was like separated, that kind of makes sense. Because then people can kind of focus on it. But at the end of the day, the point is that you can't just have one law for everybody, and that's what's going to work.
Right.
Because you are right, and I'm right.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about the whole, Vegas or how people misspent the money, but there was other people that were focusing on education or online courses or fucking podcasting or film or whatever the case is, and bettering their skills.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. Like I said, it's a fucking, I guess we don't know.
Yeah, we knew to solve the problems, but I mean, less government, I think in general is better, but where that line ends up, I don't know. And I think that's been the curse of governance since the beginning of human existence.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine that Rome fell, because it, for any other reason than, government probably made things too easy for people and people just didn't care. And next thing you know, one of the largest, societies ever is just gone. It's so how to just let people do what they're going to do and live the way they're going to live. I don't know. I'm just rambling now because I don't know the answer. I don't know what the solution. I just know that what we're doing right now isn't working. I think term limits is really the only solution that I can think of that's a realistic solution. Government was not meant to be a lifetime career. It's, you leave your community, you go serve in your government for a little while, and then you come back. And that's not where we're at now. I mean, a career politician is there to serve themselves. Yeah. And that's just human nature.
That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. So, the only thing I can think of, step one would be term limits, and step two would be to pull money out of politics. I forget the Supreme Court case that allowed, basically just whatever money somebody wanted to spend, they were allowed to. It just doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. So those with money are going to be able to influence more than those without.
I was talking again earlier to the people that developed this neighborhood, and they were like, "Look, they want to bring this like right now." Rick Caruso was running, and they were saying this was the lowest polls that almost nobody voted in LA. It was very very bad.
Yeah,
and what the other people were proposing, like to build shelter for the homeless, they calculated it was going to cost 3 times more a square foot than what it cost to build
this building.
And it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Right.
Like how do you figure that?
Yeah.
It's so corrupt. Yeah. And the crazy part is when you have votes like this, nobody's voting.
Right.
Nobody's going out there. It's like everybody's either they don't give a fuck.
They're just jaded.
They're just jaded. Yeah.
Just jaded. Like it doesn't matter. You're going to do what you're going to do anyway. It doesn't matter. And, that's sad because it does make a difference. But, I think with people are starting to realize that the amount of money that's in politics, your individual vote isn't going to have the same influence as the guy that's writing the $1 million check.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be the same.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Let's go back and then back to motorcycles.
Yeah.
Let's go back to motorcycles. Have you taken, how many safety courses have you taken? Do you recommend safety courses?
Yeah, I took one. I took right when I decided, so I retired from the Navy in 2016, and I decided shortly after that, I'm like, okay, I want to start riding again. And I hadn't ridden in a long time. So I went and took a safety course down there in San Diego somewhere. It was great. I learned a lot, built some confidence, and so yeah, I think everybody should take the safety course. But I mean, if you grew up, if you've been riding a bike since you were 3 years old, you had a guy on not too long ago. His parents put him on racing a bike when he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, of course.
But
no, but even then, you still learn. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like right now, I just took a class this Sunday at SoCal Supermoto, and it's a whole different technique.
Yeah.
It's fucking sit on top of the fucking gas tank, and ride all the way up here, and something like that I've never done.
Right.
And you're tearing it up and going faster, and then there's a dirt road, and you jump on the fucking dirt road and taking jumps. Like, oh shit, okay, this is like I haven't done this in years. Yeah. So fucking gnarly.
Yeah, you were doing that on your BMW, I would imagine.
No, they provide the bikes. Yeah, basically, it's a supermoto is basically a dirt bike.
Okay.
With 17-inch wheels.
Okay.
And street tires.
Okay.
Like that's it's like the best thing to run away from cops.
Yeah.
Like
perfect. Sidewalks, everything.
Doesn't matter. The example the instructor gave is like, you see a cop wants to pull you over, you see a golf course, jump on the golf course, and you can fucking peel out and then jump on the sand pit and fucking go take a jump and then go through the
that's how the instructor's selling the course.
That's
awesome. So not awesome. Sponsored by the CHP, I guess.
Yeah, no, they were there too. No, they weren't. No, they weren't. They absolutely weren't there. But it was fucking. It was some next level shit.
Yeah.
Injuries, People got injured, and he says, look, you're going to get injured. Be careful. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't do this.
Right.
I just warned you guys for the last 2 hours. You're signing a waiver.
Right.
I'm recording you on video.
Yeah.
You motherfuckers are going to crash. You know, like, and people did crash, but it was fucking, it was good shit. Yeah. Like that's something you want to do like once a month. Yeah.
And actually, now that we're talking about it, I've, having ridden now consistently for years, after taking that course, I'm like, maybe I should take another one, and
you have to.
I can learn some more, some more techniques.
The supermoto class that I took, SoCal Supermoto, badass.
Yeah.
Another one that I did, and I had them on the podcast as well, and I had them on the podcast like 2 years ago. But another one's Rawhide. Rawhide's pretty badass. They focus on the BMWs, and they teach you. They teach you how to ride in lakes, rivers, mud, fucking hills like this.
Jesus.
They have a 30-foot drop.
Yeah, no, thank you.
It's fucking scary.
No,
it's terrifying as fuck. But they help you get past all that shit. And it's this technical riding that once you're done with that 3-day course, you jump on and you're like your bike, and you're like, oh, dude,
it's ripping.
I could fucking, you're ripping.
Yeah. I went on a trip last month, I think it was, to Utah. We got an Airbnb in St. George, and one of the days we rode from St. George up to the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and we're on the way back. Beautiful road between St. George and to get to the Grand Canyon, and so we're just on this section where there's a lot of twisties. And a buddy of mine, I was a little bit further back, so I didn't see it, but a bunch of buddies were there in the group. And, those tar snakes, when they're repairing the cracks on roads, there's those black.
Right, the tar.
So I don't know what everybody else calls them. We call them tar snakes.
That makes a lot of sense.
But when it starts getting hot, those things can get slippery.
Right.
And so I was noticing it, and that's why I was slowing back, is every corner I was taking, I could just feel,
mushiness.
I could feel it, slipping a little bit, bouncing over those tar snakes. And so this buddy of mine, he rips. He's dirt bikes, grew up on dirt bikes and stuff. So they're still just fucking mashing, hauling ass. And they go around one corner, and his rear end starts to go out. And so he, realizes it. And instead of just crashing right there, he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to stand it up and go, ride it out. And he ends up going like up like this berm hill and over these rocks, and he's on a Dyna, and he drops off like a 3 or 4 foot drop at the end, and he's back on the road, and everybody's looking around what the fuck?
Did you get that shit on video?
Right, yeah. And so everybody was looking for me because I've always got the GoPro out, and I was
fucking dork.
I was wussing out in the back because I just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
And so we stop at a gas station right after that, and everybody's like, "Holy shit! Did you see that?"
That's fucking amazing.
Yeah, so skills like that, I would have just fucking balled it up. I'm sure.
And that's what that SoCal Supermoto kind of teaches you.
Yeah.
They teach you this position, this posture, and it's like if you're doing this and you're the opposite way, you're gonna eat garbage. You know? But if you fucking adjust your body or bring up your shoulders and pull out your fucking chest, and you can get through it.
Really?
So they teach.
Yeah, I need to do that. Because I need to ride faster. Like we all just need to ride faster,
dude,
and stupider,
dude.
And so I need to learn how to do it the right way. Because I'm gonna ride faster. So.
I'll show you. You didn't see the post I put yesterday and today?
I didn't.
Oh, dude, you got to check that out. I'm talking about full throttle. I'm talking about like the instructor's like, dude, this is not a competition. Nobody cares if you win or lose. There's no winning.
Yeah.
As soon as you get on there, everybody's fucking.
Yeah, of course. Oh, there's competition.
I got only videos of me passing people.
Yeah, of course. Like
that shit is so fucking. It's like it's like when you go riding and it's like, guys, let's keep it cool.
Right. Yeah. Like, hey, we're gonna take it easy today.
As soon as somebody's tire goes in front of
you, first guy, you're like, motherfucker.
Yeah,
it's on.
That happens.
Yeah.
And, dude, it's jumps.
Really.
Dirt.
All right.
It's not even that much.
Yeah.
It's not even that much.
I'll have to check that out.
So. And it's funny because I'm pumping them up now, obviously because I took the class.
Yeah.
But when I had them on the pod class, I was like, "What's this about?"
Yeah.
And it was like, "Oh yeah, it's safety and it's cool and this that."
Yeah.
No, it's a badass experience,
Yeah.
and most people get fucking hooked.
Really.
And the guy's a cool dude.
Yeah. That sounds like fun. I need to learn how to ride a little bit better.
Yeah, I always recommend those classes.
Yeah.
It's for the best. Same thing, gear.
Yeah.
I saw your vest is badass. Is it Espinosa? No,
that's a Chopper Kings.
Oh, Chopper Kings.
Yeah.
Fucking, that's a badass.
Kings. Yeah. Yeah. Botto's, he's got an eye for that stuff.
Yeah.
Ironically, he last year got sued, or Harley approached him and was threatening a lawsuit because he would use the red, white, and blue #1.
Yeah.
So I guess Harley was going around and smashing the little guy for using that. So he had to change things up quite a bit just to get rid of that, because that was like the core of all of his brand was based on that Harley #1. But yeah, he's got a good eye for stuff. He's kind of cool. He's a good guy.
How long you been doing the Harley thing?
I got that Dyna in 17. So yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've been to Harley's. I used to be the general manager for Harley Davidson back in the days. So I've been with I've been through a shitload of bikes.
Yeah.
My point is the amount of aftermarket companies and gear companies that exist now compared to back then.
Oh, I bet.
It's fucking insane. Like, even I remember you couldn't even really find like a cool road glide. Like, it was that big giant windshield.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the first one was Clockworks. They built a smaller one. I was like, dude, that changed it up. But it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But it's not functional, because like that's what I don't like about the road glide. That's why I like the Batwing fairing better. Because the road glide, you have to change it to make it look cool.
Right.
But you're getting blasted with air.
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear your radio, and you have to wear a full face.
Yeah.
Even though I wear with the full face all the time.
Yeah.
But then they started customizing that. Then, different crash bars. Then it was like, oh, fuck. And now, fuck, there's so many amazing companies out. I mean, there's a lot of garbage ones too.
Yeah.
But there's so many great companies doing custom fucking everything.
There is. Yeah. And I think that's, a function of, cheap money. People have access to cash, and they're able to go out and invest and
cheap money or easy money? What do you mean cheap money?
Low interest rates.
Low interest rates.
Yeah. I mean, we went through,
Got it.
After 2008, from 2009, I mean, we were at zero basically on interest rates.
Right.
So that freed up a lot of money, and so I think that has a lot to do with it as well. Because once money starts to dry up, I assure you, a lot of those smaller companies that are doing the fabrication, those will start to go by the wayside, and it'll, coalesce into a smaller group. But yeah, I mean, it is awesome. The amount of stuff, like the custom swing arms and the custom rotors.
Swing arms, yeah.
And,
Did you do your swing arm?
No, not yet. And I won't do it on... So the bagger, I just wanted to make that thing look less grandpa, but I still wanted it to be super comfortable and reliable, so that I can, go crush miles. And, if I'm 1,000 miles away by myself, I don't have to worry about it crapping out. I'm doing other things to the Dyna, that will make it probably a little bit less reliable, but I'm not, I'm not going to be that far away from civilization.
That's your San Diego fucking.
No, I mean, I'll take that thing as far as to, like, I'll go to Colorado on that thing. In my mind, that's, still fairly local, fairly reasonable. But the bagger, I just need to know that when I get on, it's going to start and it's going to go, and I don't have to worry about, I don't want to have to worry about anything. So, I did the cam on that thing, and that's it. I don't want to mess with the big motor upgrades and things like that.
Have you ever been what is it? The
Rocky Point Rally down in Mexico?
Yeah.
I have not yet, but I certainly want to go. Like, I ride down to Mexico often with friends, and I feel very comfortable doing it. But I've never ridden that direction.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll go down, TJ, Rosarito, Ensenada
on your bike
all the time. The only time I had a problem, it was 100% my fault. And so I don't hold that against them at all. But every other time, it's it's easy. You know, you stay on the toll road. The roads are nice. You know, the people are awesome. So I've never had, you know,
any issues.
I do it. Yeah. One night we were coming back with just one buddy of mine and we went down to Rosarito, got tuned up a little bit. We're coming back and I have this certain route that I know how to take. And it's like the motorcycle cut into the main line, you know, so you're not splitting. You go all the way up to the front and you cut through some cement barriers, and it's the normal, you know, like the cops are there, they watch you do it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So you cut right to the front of the line, you know, and then you cross, no big deal. So I only know one way to get there. So that night we're coming back a little tuned up, and I always tell myself like, hey, I want to be across the border by sunset. And this time, you know, we were goofing off a little bit too much, and we get into TJ. It's already dark, and the road that I know was closed. And so everything was getting detoured. I'm like, oh, fuck, I have no idea.
Yeah.
You know, and all I need to do is just put it on the Waze app, and it would have taken me there. But I was, yeah, but I mean, I was a little
mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I was drinking beers on the beach in Rosarito all day long. So my mindset wasn't
beaches.
Right. Yeah. And so I'm following the traffic, and then I see one of those little motorcycle delivery guys go, and he cuts across this median and is going this way, and it looks like he's going to be able to find a way out. And so I'm like, all right, Austin, let's go. We're going to follow this guy. And so we go, and I realized real quick, like, no, this is a bad idea. And so we turn around, come back across, and as soon as we come back and get in the regular line of traffic, there's a cop over there, like, you pull over. And so we pull over, and this chick, she's like, well,
¿Qué pasó, amigos?
Yeah, she's like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, and she's like, well, it's going to be, we're going to either impound your bikes or it's $500 a bike. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. And then I start speaking a little Spanish. She's like, oh, you speak Spanish? Yeah, enough to not get my bike impounded or pay $500. And so she keeps saying, like, no, that's what it's going to cost. And
cash only.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, you know, what would it take? You know, that's the magic, you know, what's it going to take? And so she's like, oh, well, you know, let me call the arresting officer over. So he comes over, and he's like, well, he's like, follow me. I'm like, where are we going? He's like, well, and he looks up, he's like, too many cameras here. I'm like, okay, all right. So we go, and I'm like, you know, if he starts going somewhere weird, I'll just
book it.
We're just going to go, you know, and take our chances. And so the stupid thing is we go like 2 blocks, make a left, and we're on that fucking road that I needed to be on.
Right.
To get back.
You're like, but this is it.
Like, I'm right here. I'm like, damn it. I'm such an idiot. So we go, and we pull over on the road that I needed to be on to get back across the border. And he comes over, and he's like, all right, well, what do you have? And so I, you know, it's not my first rodeo, so I don't keep, you know, I keep money elsewhere, you know, so I open the wallet. I'm like, this is it. I think I had a 20 in there. I'm like, that's all I got. And he's like, have your friend come over here. And my buddy, yeah, he's younger. I'm probably old enough to be his dad. And he opens his wallet.
Cash, yeah.
And he opens his wallet, and I think he had $60 in there. And I look at him at first. I'm like, dude, why? He's like, oh, I don't know. Yeah. And
he reaches into his other pocket. I have more here.
Now. And so, it was a motorcycle cop. And so I'm like, this is it. This is what we got. It was like $60 or $80 or something like that. So he's like, okay, hold on. So he goes and, you know, real legit puts a cell phone. You know, he's calling somebody on a cell phone, not on the radio.
Yeah.
And
that's legit.
And he comes back. And he's like, well, you know, I don't know if that's enough. And while he was over there, I look over on his windscreen, and he had the winged wheel,
yeah,
on, you know, sticker on his windscreen. So I start chopping it up with him. I'm like, look, we're motorcycle brothers. Like,
Hermanos.
Same thing. And he starts laughing. He's like, oh yeah, that's great. That's great. And then he's like, okay, all right, $60 only because we're motorcycle brothers. And that was it. And he let me go and off we went.
Fucking hey, man.
So that was 100% my fault. I was 2 blocks away from, if I would have just followed, it was a detour, it was going to go back to where I needed to go.
Cheapest lesson you've ever learned.
Yeah. And, but every other time, no, it's great. Like we'll go and we'll park. There's a bunch of, like gated parking lots down there by like Papa's and Beer and those places. We'll go there and just park there, pay a few bucks, and they're keeping an eye on the bikes, and we just hang out and go to the liquor stores and get beers, go to the taco shops, and
that's it.
It's great. Oh, it's so much fun.
Have you seen a significant change in TJ? Because like before 2010 or something, it was like, all right, it was the spot.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, oh no, it got really dangerous. They're cutting heads off.
Well,
it
died off after 2008. So when Crash happened, like Rosarito became a ghost town. It was pretty bad. And so now, I think everything has picked up. It's getting pretty crowded down there. The hotels, you can tell they haven't been updated in a while. Just the typical hotels like the Rosarito Beach Hotel and stuff, the real touristy things, because they're probably just starting to recover financially. But I have never, my wife and I will travel down to Mexico a lot. We like to go to San Miguel de Allende, which it's a small,
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. It's like 4 hours northwest of Mexico City, up in the hills. So it's like one of the original Spanish settlement towns. So you go there and it feels like you're walking in, old Spain. Like it's beautiful. And it's a very popular town for, I guess, wealthy Mexicans coming up from Mexico City. So they say it's pretty expensive there, but it was still like
cheap compared to
cheap, and, the food scene there is amazing. The cocktail scene, the whole thing is just perfect. The first time we went there with our flight, there's a border bridge thing down in Otay Mesa, down in the south, right on the border in San Diego. You just walk across this bridge, you go through customs and stuff, and you're in the airport in TJ. So we'll go across that and we'll fly Mexican Airlines to get everywhere in Mexico, and it's significantly cheaper. There's still, 737s. It's not like there's, chickens in the, in the carry-on baggage area.
Yeah.
They're nice airplanes. And so the first time we went, I think we were there for 5 days, round trip airfare, the Airbnb that we got, all the food, and there are chefs there that have spots there that are, celebrity chefs on that Netflix show, like legit stuff. And I think by the time we were done shopping, bought all kinds of shit, when we got back, I think the whole trip was like $1,800.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
cheap.
I love it. And so we go down there.
Mexico. I was in the city of Mexico, and there's a fucking Rodeo Drive
Yeah.
there, and it's like, dude, like,
yeah,
what are people talking about?
No, I love it. I mean, for how inexpensive it is and the quality of, the food, and the people are just amazing. They're all nice. And, so
it's well protected.
Yeah. I don't, I mean, I know cartels are a thing, but I think
got bigger things to
right. In general, they're just trying to coexist, and they're not going to rock the boat, so it's not likely. I mean, I heard something about a shootout or something around
Cancun or something at a hotel,
at
a Hilton or some shit.
Yeah. And I'm sure there was a lot more to it. They're not going to just go in and, start blasting up some tourist town, because then the government's going to have to fight them. you know,
the U.S. government
so,
have to fucking
right,
fight them.
Exactly, and we don't want to do that. So yeah, I love going down to Mexico. We'll ride down there. It's cheap. It's fun. It's fairly close.
Would you ever live there?
You know, I actually thought about. I used to joke with my wife years ago. I said, you know, if I don't have anything significant going by the time I turn 50, I want to sell everything and go live in San Miguel, live in Mexico. And I just turned 50 last weekend, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would not hesitate to live. San Miguel is a big expat area for Americans and Canadians, you know, so it's got a whole different vibe going.
Why would Canadians want to move to Mexico?
I don't know. It's cheaper. I don't know. It's nice. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't hesitate. But kids, I mean, all the kids are old and stuff, so it's not like, you know, I have to take care of them every single day, but I don't think the wife would be that far away and stuff. So conceptually, yes, I would do it, but realistically, it's not going to happen.
You're in a sweet spot.
Yeah,
San Diego, and then you could just fucking catch the airport.
That's it. Yeah, and
that's a sweet spot.
I was riding around all year last year, probably the year before, looking, kind of scoping out other areas in Colorado and Arizona, places that I'd like to go and move to.
Arizona, no beach? What?
Dude, I spent 20 years floating on the ocean. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with not being around the ocean. I need water. So a lake or a river, that's fine. There needs to be water, but
Ozark.
But the ocean, I'm okay. Like,
yeah,
I'm good. But you know, so I'm looking around at all these places, and I just would always come back home, and I'm like, man, there's just no place like home, you know. And then once the real estate prices everywhere else started to go crazy, you know, there wasn't the deal, you know. So 4 years ago, you can go to northern Arizona or something, and you can get a really nice place, not be out in the middle of nowhere, for $250,000-$300,000, and taxes were low, and you know, so it's like, okay, that's a significant change that could be worth it. Now it's not, you know, there aren't the deals out there, so to pick up your life and leave and go somewhere else where the weather isn't nearly as good, it just doesn't make a lot of sense now. So the deals are gone.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're going to go live in, you know, Mississippi or something like that. And
I mean, they're still better than LA, but compared to San Diego or whatever your situation is, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And if you're able to survive here, you know, and you're not living paycheck to paycheck, if you're good, you're good. Like, why?
Yeah.
You know,
I think the problem is one, there's a money thing. Two, there's a job thing. And three, now there's a safety problem. Like, especially in LA. Like, there's like I told you, a cop just got
you mentioned that. Yeah. And that's not that's not
Beverly Hills. People are fucking getting shot at their Beverly Hills home.
Really?
People are, bro, it's bad. A guy now.
It's a good thing I parked my bike down below in the garage. Shit.
No, that's what I was telling you. Like, I heard about one where somebody was wearing a nice watch and they got into an accident. And when they got out the car to exchange information, they pulled out a gun, give me your fucking watch. Like, it's every day.
Really?
Are you familiar with the Citizen app?
No.
Oh my God, bro! It looks like it's like Grand Theft Auto or some shit. It's
really?
An app that when there's a police helicopter flying overhead,
right,
it knows what's the tail number and who's flying that.
Yeah.
And if he gets a call, it tells you what that call is.
Yeah.
And when there's something happening, like when that shooting happened, you get a notification. There's a shooting happening a block away.
Yeah.
And then people are filming it like, oh shit, look at this shooting. And you can see the update on there.
Wow.
That fucking thing goes off every 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah,
it wasn't until you mentioned that shooting there, it didn't really, like, conceptually I knew like things were getting a little rough. LA, San Francisco. But yeah, I mean, we're not at that level in San Diego. Like, I'll go hang out in Chicano Park, you know, no issue. I'll go, there are certain areas that I just don't go.
Right. I mean,
I'm sure I'd be fine.
Normal.
It's just,
exactly.
It's, if I'm riding with the right group of guys, we'll go there and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
but like I fit in pretty well down in Barrio Logan, Chicano Park, so we'll go and hang out down there all the time. I feel perfectly fine. So yeah, that's not an issue. So I can see that could be a little bit of a motivation.
Yeah.
It's pretty sad.
No, it's extremely sad. School, and that happened, like I said, a block away in front of a high school.
Jeez.
So I think they shut down the school today.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but like that's normal.
Yeah.
That's not what? That's fucking normal.
Yeah. That's not cool.
Yeah. But anything else you want to cover? We've done a pretty good time.
Yeah. There's all the Navy stuff. There's the writing stuff.
Look, it's never ending.
Yeah. So I did 20 years in the Navy. I did a few tours.
Oh, you did a full-on career.
Yeah. I was 20 years.
You didn't do 4 years and fucking get out.
No, I did 20 years. I showed up to my very first fleet squadron right before September 11th. So my entire career was based off of September 11th. I was in Iraq a few times. You remember that big earthquake in Haiti in 2010?
Yeah.
So we were the first U.S. helicopters to come across the beach to start doing all that rescue stuff. So by the time I retired, I had seen a lot of things. And once you're done, once you kind of step back and you don't have that constant, okay, we're deploying here, we're doing this, we're in this fight, we're in that fight, we're doing stuff. Once you don't have that, your identity starts to change. You're like, okay, that's who I was. Now I don't have that.
It's like a different lifetime in your life. Yeah.
And then you have time to sit back and start to kind of reflect on things that you've seen and done. And then it's, and that's where a lot of the PTSD for guys really starts to kick in. It's, you're fine so long as you're in the fight. When you're not in the fight anymore, you've got time to sit back and reflect. That's when it really starts to kick in. So like 2017, that's when that stuff really started to kick in for me. And that's why I got I'm pretty sure that's why I bought the motorcycle when I bought it. I didn't know where I wanted to go, what I was going to do with it, but I'm like, things are not good. My head's not in a good place. So I'm like, well, fuck, I'll buy a Harley. That's the most logical thing to do.
Yeah, of course. The most expensive.
Right. And so then I just started getting on that thing, man. And I just rode, the first year, less than a year, 8 months that I had that thing, I think I rode like 15,000 miles. I just got on it and was just gone. And,
What'd your wife think about the whole thing?
She knew I wasn't in a good place. So she didn't really say much. Every now and then it would come up and, I'm like, I got to go get my head straight. And so I'd get on that thing and just be gone. And, I remember, you remember that scene in Forrest Gump where, he's running and he's running through Monument Valley and going up the hill and he stops, the whole crowd stops. And then he turns around, he looks at him. He's like, I'm tired. I'm going to go home. I had a moment like that, where I had just been riding and gone, and I was at a gas station, some shithole in Arizona or southern Utah or something like that. And I just had that same epiphany, like, okay, I'm tired. I'm good. I'm going to go home now.
Got it out.
Yeah. And, turned around, went home and, focused in on the real estate business stuff and, got busy with that and kind of established that thing. And then started to realize that wasn't really making me happy. The money was okay. But the demons would still creep up. And then, I started writing again more and decided, on that impulse, I bought that bagger and started writing a bunch more. And so now I think it's kind of like trying to outride the demons, but I've started to realize that it's also a lot of fun. It's great therapy. The VA's tried to pump, medications and stuff in me, and I know that's not who I am. So long as I keep riding, and I've met a lot of great people, and it's turned into, a lot of fun. So now I feel more level on a daily basis than, before I started riding. So it's been therapy, and I mentioned to you before I went on that, I took the Dyna one day and rode to the Four Corners Rally, which is in Durango. And I got on, I just was not in a good head place at all. I was just not in a good space. And I just decided a few days before that rally, I had seen people posting about it. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I need to do that. So I woke up.
That distraction.
Yeah. I woke up and I got on the bike at like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I'm just going to go. I had no plans, no hotel, nothing. And I rode straight through from San Diego to Durango, and I pulled in there and came across some people, like AJ from Redbeard, the leather guy. I don't know if you're familiar with his stuff.
No, not yet.
Yeah. He does amazing work, but, ran across him, and some of his friends were there, and they're like, hey, come and stay with us. One of the guys, has a cabin house there. So I went and stayed with them and hung out with them that whole weekend. And I think that was a real turning point in my head where, I came back from that trip and I just felt better. I had met some new people and was having a good time, and the bike, then became less like required therapy to more just like, hey, this is a lot of fun. I'm riding lots of cool places. I'm hanging out with lots of good friends, and things really turned up. But, that was a definite turning point, that event. And it's been, I've just been riding like crazy ever since, and I love it. I would not ride.
Why do you think the VA tries to push so much medication?
It's just easy. It's
just the easy solution.
It's the easy solution. It's, you got a chemical imbalance or whatever, this. I
mean, they're amazing facilities. And it's good to have.
And the VA has changed dramatically. Like I heard stories, when I first went in the military in 96, there were guys that were in the system from Vietnam, and, they heard horrible stories about it. But after September 11th, the whole opinion of service members changed a bunch. Funding, I think, became a priority for the VA. So there are people there that are really trying. Like the VA will call me and like, hey, you need anything, this appointment, that appointment. And I got to the point where, I didn't agree with the treatment plan. It just wasn't working for me, but not because they weren't trying. I was just like, no, I don't think I don't like who I am in that program. That's not going to work. Let me try this. So it wasn't because they weren't trying. The facilities are great. So I give them lots of credit for trying. I'm sure it works for a lot of people.
What about personally? Are you more active? Are you exercising more? How's your eating habits?
Yeah. My entire time in the military, certainly the last decade, when I was in and out of Iraq, all of our flying was in support of special forces. So we're always on those types of facilities. So, fitness was just what you did. And there were times after I retired where I was more fit, less fit. But it's always been a thing. I know I can eat better, and, but food's good. So
food's delicious.
It's good. So I know I can be better at that. But
I mean, that's the number one problem.
Yeah, it is.
Like I've actually recently met several people that did the surgery, whatever. They and they're, I don't want to say lazy, but they're lazy.
Yeah.
And all it is food.
Yeah.
They just can't eat as much, and they lose ridiculous amounts of fucking weight, and it's crazy. And whatever, I'm happy they did it because a lot of them it's for health purposes. Mm-hmm. But the point is, when you look at it,
they didn't change their lifestyle.
They didn't change their lifestyle, but again, I'm not going to pick on anybody. All I'm going to say is seeing it multiple times, I start realizing how much food we fucking eat.
Yeah.
The amount of food that we have access to.
Yeah.
I read a quote, or I heard it somewhere, and it says this is the first time in the history of man poor people are fat.
Yeah.
The poor is fat.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? How does that? You're broke and you're fat. How does that?
Well, because
you see homeless people that are fucking begging for change.
Yeah. Well, because it's cheaper to buy,
of course,
2-liter bottle of soda than it is to buy water.
Yeah.
It's cheaper to buy a bag of potato chips than it is to buy fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables. I had a 64-ounce thing of water that I take to the gym. I finish it every time I go to the gym. And I was just remembering, like, Big Gulp used to have the 64-ounce cup.
Yeah, it was 99 cents.
99 cents.
Yeah.
People were just getting fucking 64 ounces of Coca-Cola, soda and just down.
Yeah, not good. Not good. And
New York banned it. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Anything over 20 ounces, they had banned it.
Yeah.
They were like, what the fuck is it New York's problem? Like, dude, no, it's a problem.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can't go in a liquor store or gas station and buy a 12-ounce can of soda. It's the smallest thing is like a 20-ounce bottle. And of course, if you open it, you're going to drink it all. It's awful. I don't, as I'm sitting here sucking on a Red Bull.
Well, at least it's sugar-free and carb-free and fucking,
it gives me wings.
Look at this. It's got B12, 80%. It's fucking B6, 250%. I don't even know how that's possible in science.
Yeah. It's good.
That's
what allows me to ride for 22 hours straight.
But I'll still rock this stuff or the zero sugar, zero carb stuff.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that's like, it's all the sugar, like a hamburger, the sugar they put in the bread, the sugar they put in the patty, the sugar they put in the fucking.
And that's where I'm bad is I just don't have the discipline to get away from as much of the carbs as I know I should. I love sweets. I try to keep them out of the house, but if they're in the house, I'm just going to eat them.
Stop bringing them in the house.
I don't, but my wife does. That's the problem.
No, that's not true.
It's true. You ask her. I don't buy that shit.
I don't. You can't even look at me.
Buys that. Yeah, she buys that shit. I don't buy that stuff.
It's definitely hard, man. But it makes a fucking difference.
It does.
Like it takes probably about 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And if you quit the carbs and sugar, you start realizing like you don't crave it.
Yeah.
You don't crave it, number one. Number two, when you get hungry, you're not like, what is it, hangry?
Yeah.
You're kind of like, maybe I'll eat. Like it's like that.
Right.
It's not like I can't I'm fucking hungry. Like it's a big difference.
Yeah.
And again, it's back to the people that did the surgery. I'm not picking on them, but it just made me realize like how much we eat. Because then I'll be like, oh, like I didn't eat my French fries today.
Right.
And it's like it wasn't even the French fries. It was like the 50 other things you had today. It's the size of your breakfast, the size of your snacks.
Yeah.
So it's got to be controlled.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good at portion control and all that kind of stuff. It's just I know that even
you look fit.
Even in the in the 90s, I used to do Ironman triathlon stuff, and even then, I'd be working out, training for 6-8 hours in a day. I could still never lose that last little bit of because, I still love the carbs. I would I still would eat it, and I don't have the discipline to cut that stuff out. And
to have one of those super bodies, that's completely different. It's just about being healthy. And the reason I brought it up is because you're talking about, mental health and, like riding the bikes and being distracted. And I'm wondering how much are you putting into like eating better and exercising to help you?
Yeah. And I go to the gym, just about every day, probably 5 it depends on how busy the schedule is, but at least 4 days a week, sometimes 5 or 6. And I have to, if I don't, I'll start to get grumpy. You know, the wife knows,
like everybody around you.
It's like I'm less and less grumpy as I've gotten older.
You're less and less grumpy as you get older. That's
when
awesome.
I'm not going to the gym. So when I was younger, if I couldn't get to the gym or train or get on the bike or get in the pool or go for the run or whatever, I would get super grumpy. I'd get angry. Like if I had to do something, for the wife or kids or something, instead of going out for a 100-mile bike ride, I would just be grumpy about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, okay. Like I really want to go to the gym, but if the wife wants to go do something, that's fine. I'll go to the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm not as grumpy. So if I don't go.
I get a little grumpy still.
How old are you?
Yeah. I just turned 40.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're still in it, man.
Yeah.
Like you're.
Yeah. Well, this is the most I've been in it. Like this is the first time.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh yeah. I need to.
Absolutely.
It's been whatever, a little under a year. But like I would only hit it if my boys would call me up and like, you gotta go, I'm going now, and I'm like, all right. Yeah. But right now I'm like,
now you're just going. Mission. So yeah, you can tell you're looking.
That's why I'm like, I will fuck up 27-year-old me. Like, get over here, little bitch.
That's it. Yeah. And I remember it at 40. I had something to prove to all the younger officers, the younger enlisted guys. It's like, okay, I'm supposed to be the old guy, but like fucking try to keep up.
Yeah, try to keep up.
You know. And so now I don't have that, extra motivation.
So the 50 mark is like,
I don't know.
But you still look young and active.
I'm trying.
I would not have guessed 50.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm trying. 44. Yeah, I appreciate that. No, I'm trying, and it's the exercise, working out has been a thing my whole life, even before I went in the military. But the military just encouraged it, and
that's what's dumb. Like I have worked out, but like the most minimal. Like I've never taken it serious.
Yeah,
like I've never gone to a gym by myself the way that I do it now.
Yeah,
and now that I go, it's amazing because you see skinny, scrawny kids going to the gym.
Yeah,
regular basis.
Yeah,
you see ripped people continuously going. You see people trying to lose weight.
Yeah,
you see people. Like it's such an important, and I know this sounds like common sense to people, but it never fucking crossed my mind. In my 20s, I just wanted to drink, party, ride motorcycles, and that was it. Chicks and fucking travel,
and you didn't have to worry about getting fat when you're in your 20s.
And that's right. And if you compare what I ate in my 20s, it was like fucking Jack in the Box,
that has a lot
2
to
chicken
do with
sandwiches,
it,
2 tacos, and fucking a Coke.
I mean, 40's 40. There's some physiological changes when you get to 40. That's when my eyesight started to, I've got these stupid readers now.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was
I wear glasses.
When I was first in the Navy and flying, like my entire time, I had like 2020 vision.
You didn't have BC glasses?
No way. Like I could read. Yeah. Like, and I remember the first flight physical that I went to, I think I was like 30, probably 37-ish. And they do, you put your head down in this box and they do the near vision, the far vision.
Right.
Somehow. And, so they clicked up for the far vision thing. I can see everything just fine. And they clicked down to the near one. And at first I was like I pulled my head away from the box. I'm like, it's the first time ever I couldn't fucking see what it was. Like I had to really strain to figure out what it was. I'm like, what the fuck is it? And I still figured out what it was, but it used to be like, MOTORC, like I could read it all, no problem. That one I had to like kind of do a little thing to figure it out.
Double take.
Yeah. And that was, so now, dude, it's like I can read my phone fine like this, but
would you ever do LASIK or anything?
I went to an optometrist. I don't know the difference, but I had like this sty on my eyelid that wouldn't go away, and it got like really big. So I actually had to have it surgically cut out. And while I was there, I asked the guy, I was like, hey, can I get LASIK? And he's like, well, if it's just for near vision, there isn't like you can have something done on one eye and not the other, because it's, LASIK's not for, the close in reading thing. I guess it's for far vision or something. I don't know. But he was like, no, you're not really. That's not something that would really help.
Go to Mexico, they'll do it.
Right, they'll do anything.
They'll fucking, like, no problema, amigo.
So now I just carry, $2 readers and I can see just fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Like going to a restaurant trying to read the wine list sometimes. I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like, it's not fair.
Yeah.
So you'll start to.
But still, man, we age better than the other half.
That is so true. Like
it's
that's
tough.
not fair.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I was at an event. Some people from like Pink Floyd performing. Yeah. Anyways, I went to the bathroom and I was holding it.
Yeah.
Fuck, I gotta take a piss. And then this other guy walks. He's like, man, I've been holding this shit. I go, yeah, fuck me too. He goes, thank goodness we're not women, because they get infections for holding it. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. Then we started talking about periods and babies, and it's Jesus. Like, dude, it's so unfair.
It is.
And then if you talk about the aging aspect of it.
Yeah, so yeah, like I've got pretty lucky.
We love them.
My wife, it's fortunately, I don't know how to say it right, but it's wife number 2. First one didn't make it through 20 years in the military. But yeah, she's aged very well. So that, I just could not imagine. I guess I'm shallow like that. I don't know. Like that matters to me. Like,
no, it's
it
something
matters.
you pay attention to.
Yeah.
Like if the person doesn't change who they are,
yeah,
and something, whatever, I'm sure you would handle it good. But the fact that you're like, oh, she score,
right?
You acknowledge it too. We're not retarded,
right? Exactly.
Which is second podcast I used retarded. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying retarded. No, but yeah, you acknowledge it and you're proud of it. It's like same thing. If you have a good looking kid, you're like, yes. Yeah. And then if you have a dork, you're like, fuck, man.
Right.
Why are you really the dorky side?
Then you blame it on your wife.
Yeah, that's your side.
Of the family. That's got to be your side. Certainly isn't my side.
Yeah.
I dealt with that.
And all the kids are older now, huh?
Right. Yeah. So the youngest, so I had 2 boys from my previous marriage. My wife had 3 kids. So they go from 20, 26, 23, 20, 19, 18.
Wow.
So they're older. So there's 2 of them that are home right now just over the summer before they move into like full-time housing at college. Yeah. So they'll be in like regular apartments and stuff. And theoretically they'll be gone. I'm sure they'll pop in.
Maybe not, man.
I try to make it as uncomfortable as I can while they're home, just so that they, hurry up and move along.
Are you pushing military on them?
No, not at all. My 2 boys had 0 interest in it. My wife's son was very interested in it, but I don't think he had the right mindset. Like he wanted to be a pilot, but just, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen.
If it happens, good, but more than likely not.
But, so her 2 younger kids were involved in like JROTC in high school and stuff. And they seem to enjoy that. But now that they're out in college, I think they're starting to enjoy, college life. And I don't see that happening. But my 2 boys, absolutely no interest. They didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I was gone for a decade straight. Like I just didn't see them. Yeah. Like their whole.
Well, I think the
whole childhood is just a blur. Like I pop in and then I was gone. So, so I'm sure that was part of it. But no, they had 0 interest.
Did they ever confront you about it?
No, they never did.
But you just feel it, know it.
Yeah. Well, and then. Their mom and I divorced. I think my younger son was 9-ish, and my older son was 12.
So that's they know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, and that wasn't a pleasant time. Their mom was was not very happy about it, and I think kind of turned him against me for a long time.
What?
So,
Your ex?
Yeah,
to the kids?
right?
No.
Yeah,
Come
right.
on, man.
So it wasn't until they were
That usually doesn't
about
happen.
16 that they started to realize, like, okay, Dad's not all bad. It wasn't all Dad's fault. Everybody.
But did you really feel they felt it? Like they started seeing it?
For the better?
Yeah.
Or,
no. They like at 16, 18, they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, it was
Like
my younger son
happening.
actually. Yeah, my younger son actually came to me when he was right around 16 and was like, "Yeah, Dad, okay, I'm sorry, I was an asshole. Like, I didn't understand everything, and now I see it." But no, it was ugly for 7 years. I mean, it was. Yeah, they didn't really. I'd have them for a week. It was week on, week off. The week that they were with me, it just really felt like they were just, doing time until they can get back to their mom's house.
Yeah, they weren't even present.
Yeah, and and I wasn't. I wasn't deploying by that time. I wasn't really deploying that much. I was still kind of busy. My last job in the Navy before I retired is I ran the UAV, unmanned aircraft vehicle program, or I helped run it for the SEAL teams down in Coronado. So I was still busy. Like, I'd travel a bunch, and so I was still very much into the Navy, so they'd come over. I knew I had to go somewhere soon. They would start to complain, say that they want to go to their mom's house, and be like, fine, okay, just go to your mom's house so I can just go do this thing.
Yeah.
So it took a while before they started to kind of come back around. And, unfortunately, I don't want to sound like I threw in the towel, but it almost feels like time passed and it's too late. I know it's not too late to build that relationship and keep that relationship strong, but there was such a long gap.
But it's hard.
Where they just kind of, they wouldn't talk to me about anything, so I don't really, I didn't really know who they were, and they didn't really seem to want to be involved in anything I was doing. So they didn't know who I was, so it's almost like, two strangers when we come in the room. It's kind of weird. I can tell they try, I try, but I think that's just one of the downsides of being deployed so long. It's just one more of those things where I feel I have these regrets and guilt and stuff. It's like, okay, I fucked up this too. It doesn't help. And I know the answer isn't always best to just get on a motorcycle and go right away for a while, but it seems to kind of help.
Yeah, especially after all the time you've served, after what you've done for your country, and just get your mind right. Because if you're frustrated, you're not thinking clearly, staying there and dealing with a bunch of randomness doesn't help either.
Right. No.
It makes it more uncomfortable.
Yeah, more uncomfortable, and I get mad and irritable, and it's just not good for anybody.
Do your kids know each other from the two marriages?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So they were, so it's, you remember TV show The Brady Bunch? Yeah, it's a fucking lie. Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
I remember, when my wife and I started dating, and we were like, oh,
it was a TV
this
show.
will work. Yeah.
Must be.
Shut up. I was like, oh, this will be easy. Like, we'll just blend the families. Worked for the Bradys. Like, this is easy. No,
We even have an instruction man. Yeah.
My kids, they all hated each other, wanted to fucking kill each other.
So you really tried to make it work.
And it just, oh man, it wasn't until, again, probably. So the two older ones were already gone. So then the three younger ones were still around each other a decent amount, and it started to kind of get better. So now they all seem to genuinely like each other. They'll tolerate certain things about some of them. But I've seen that they're on group chats themselves, whereas before, like they didn't want anything to do with each other. They hated everything about each other. It was awful.
Yeah, they couldn't stand that.
It was awful. And
well, you think about it. It makes a lot of sense because brothers don't get along with each
right,
other,
and that's what I would.
Let alone
right, and so my wife would get all bent out of shape. Like she's like, your son doesn't like my son. I'm like, well, if they were actual brothers, they would hate each other too. Like it happens. They don't. Everybody doesn't have to like each other all the time. So it was bad.
Shit show.
Yeah, it was a shit show. So I mean, that was just part of the added stress of changing identity from military to not military, and then divorce, and kids hate each other, and it was a shit show.
It's a mess. Where do you see? What are you gonna do now? Like, I know you're messing around with real estate.
Yeah,
it's perfect. You come and go as you please.
Yeah, you
take your time off whenever you want. But what's 5-year-old, 10-year-old? Another
5 years from now, I'll be honest with you.
Besides more classes and more.
No, I'm done with school. I've got an MBA. Like, that was enough. When I was done with that, I'm like, okay,
I did it.
That's enough. I'd love to study and learn and read. And so when I was done with that, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I just want to kind of hang out. I don't know. I'm over these last holidays, I remember thinking like, okay, the real estate's good. Like it's good. I'm not super passionate about it. But I'm really good at it. I make good money. It gives me the ability to go do other things that I am passionate about. I think that's the difference between people that just blindly follow a passion, thinking like, oh yeah, I'm passionate about it. I'm going to be good at it. I'm going to make a bunch of money. Like, no, seldom works out that way. You find something that you're good at, you've got a lot of practice doing, and you keep doing it, you're going to make money.
Yeah.
You don't have to be passionate about what it is that pays the bills. So I'm good at it. The phone rings enough times a year to where I make what I need to make, and it frees me up to go do other things. So over the holidays, I started reflecting on like, okay, what do I want to do? I'm like, okay, I really love motorcycle stuff, the lifestyle, the industry. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to dive in head first and see what happens. So I don't even know how it happened. I started making some memes. They caught on, and next thing I know, the page is blown up to almost 12,000 followers. People are hitting me up all the time about stuff, and I'll go to events and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're the meme guy." Yeah, I'm the meme guy.
I'm based off memes. That's why. That's
it. I think it's a combination of memes, and then I post a lot of. I have the GoPro going on rides all the time. So I'll post reels and short things about riding. But I was like, I'm just gonna dive into this and just see where it goes. I have no idea where it's going to go, but it's fun. I have a good time doing it. I'm here. This is awesome.
You're here,
I love, telling 70. Stories, right? There it is.
Boom.
I love telling stories and, sharing my life story, so I honestly have no fucking idea where it goes from here,
but you're not even worried about
it. And I don't care. Because
that's beautiful.
I'm living.
That's the most important part.
I'm living within my means, so I don't have to do much real estate wise. I've got a little bit of pension. I lost almost half my pension to my ex-wife. So there's not as much there, but there's enough. Like bills are paid.
You're comfortable.
I'm very comfortable. So I don't know.
Fuck it. We're going to be following you on your journey anyways.
I made a fuck ton of money when I was 18, 19, 20 years old, so I know what that's like. It didn't make me happy. It was fun, but the stress and the pain when it all went away, and, when you see how shallow most people are, I'm like, okay, I know I don't need to make a shit ton of money to prove anything to anybody. Like I've done it. I did it when I was 18. And having a bunch of money isn't all it's cut out to be. You know, I did the Navy thing for a bunch, and that was great. And I thought that was what was going to make me happy. And, you know, then that goes away, and, you know, you're still just sitting there, you know, you lose that identity, you know, so it's hard to explain. I'm not trying to go out and prove anything to anyone. You know, I'm finally at 50 starting to feel comfortable in who I am, you know, all my faults, all the bad things I've done, the good things that I've done. You know, I feel I'm starting to come to grips with all of that stuff. And, you know, I forgive myself and I forgive other people for things. And, you know, so now I'm just going to try to focus. You know, I wasn't there as a father, so I'm going to try to be there more as a father. You know, I wasn't, you know, I'm just trying to be more present. I guess that's it. Just trying to be more present in the lives of the people that I care about.
And to yourself.
And, you know, the writing stuff is what makes me makes me happy. I feel fulfilled when I'm doing it. You know, we do the social media stuff. It's fun, but it strokes a little bit of the ego that, you know, I used to have when I was a pilot and that fanfare and stuff, you know. So there's always ego involved in this stuff. Like, we're not doing it just because it's, you know, for fun. You know, but I'm feeling comfortable with who I am and where I am. And so I'm just trying to figure out, I obviously wasn't the best husband before because I was divorced, you know, so I'm trying to figure out how to be a better husband. My wife has gotten on me many times about not being present and things. So I'm trying to be better at that. You know, I'm trying to be better with my kids and, you know, with my immediate family. And I'm not very good at any of that stuff.
Well, none of us are.
But, you know, I think that's, for now, that's the goal. You know, just crush more miles because it's fun. It makes me feel better. And when I come back, I feel a little bit more recharged and able to give a little bit more to everybody else around me.
Yeah, you're more hyper-focused.
Yeah.
And what I meant by classes is like the supermoto classes.
Right.
You know, take more courses
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Rawhide,
I should.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's great networking. It's great people.
Yeah.
I want to see if this is hooked up to the Bluetooth. But just to show you, it's like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't know if it, but it's just that's.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that's what you're doing on the weekend.
Oh shit! That looks rad. That's you?
Yeah,
with the GoPro attached.
A 360, like.
Yeah. Oh shit!
Like you're hauling ass.
Oh shit!
Like, it's a full on, and this is beginner. This is
the guys telling you like, hey, we're not racing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah. Oh, you're fucking racing there, dude. Like, watch me go, sucker.
It got so competitive.
Yeah,
it got so competitive and so exciting, but it was a blast.
Yeah.
Like, I'm talking about, you're sore afterwards.
Yeah.
Everybody was wearing leathers or whatever safety gear you have.
Yeah.
And I mean, you want to talk about clearing your mind,
Yeah.
having a successful day. Afterwards, we lit up cigars. Somebody brought a bottle of Macallan.
Yeah.
Fucking drinking some whiskey, smoking cigars, and having fun.
Yeah.
Then got fucking left and went home.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
good
a
to
good idea.
occupy your mind with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Rawhide, they do it for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They got the outdoor showers, you know, so
Okay.
you're fucking like, you know, they got the best food on the planet.
Really?
And it comes, you know, it's all freshly cooked. And
Yeah.
best food on the planet, and you're just bonding and writing and
Yeah.
learning techniques and skills.
That's
and,
rad.
You know, it's really next level shit.
Yeah. No, I need to try. That's a great idea.
And I've been writing 20 something years.
Yeah.
I started taking these courses like in the last 4 years. I'm
Right.
like,
Onto something here.
this is good.
Yeah.
This
Onto
is
something. That's rad.
We're at 2 hours 9 minutes.
Fuck, dude.
I have this for YouTube. You know, your user ID.
Yes,
but
sir.
What's you want to say it out loud?
It's I'm at Papa Juan El Gallo. Yeah, it's it's mostly memes and a lot of just motorcycle riding reels. It's just all motorcycle related stuff. I'll throw some family stuff in there occasionally, but yeah, it's fun. People say that's pretty funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
When I first started making them, I was like, this just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I'll start making these things and I'll just be in the corner chuckling, and the
yourself.
fact that other people think they're funny, I'm like, oh, that's great.
That is great.
We take ourselves in this industry, we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah.
Like for some reason you buy a Harley Davidson, you've got to be a tough guy. Like why do like I need a knife and,
brass knuckles
and, if you look at me better, if you look at me cross-eyed, we're going to fight. Like, dude, we're just fucking riding motorcycles. Like, don't take ourselves so damn seriously.
Have you been to the bike shed?
The what?
The bike shed?
No.
Have you heard of it?
Now that you mention it, yeah.
Yeah, check that out.
Yeah.
Check that out. That's a cool spot. It's basically an MC for people that don't want to be an MC.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's how everybody describes it.
Yeah.
And everybody's cool.
Yeah.
All the bikes in the world.
Yeah.
And just mellow, cool people, great food, great drinks, great prices.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. It's, we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah.
So it's a motorcycle. Go ride.
And
have
then
fun.
One more question. When you're riding these and you're laughing your ass off by yourself, does your wife ever look at you and go, what are you laughing at?
You know what?
Who sent you? Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Does that ever happen?
Well,
that never happens,
to
right?
be completely honest, I had to block my wife from my page. She doesn't understand she doesn't really understand what a meme is to begin with. And then,
she understands, but she doesn't want to understand your meme.
The motorcycle riding community, the biker community, like she doesn't understand all that. And, she started to get like very angry at some of them. And, like I was riding to Arizona Bike Week recently and I'm somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and my phone starts blowing up and I'm looking, I have it up on my bars as I'm riding and I'm looking and I'm seeing screenshots of stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is this? So when I stop and look at the gas, like she was on a sick one that day, just pissed about everything. She's like, what the fuck is this? What is that? And, I was trying to talk her off the ledge and finally I was like, no, we're not going to talk about this now. Talk about it, when I get to Arizona. And she calmed down. She's like, I'm just going to unfollow you. I'm like, okay, probably for the better. And then I blocked her just to be safe. So it's like, it's, they're just jokes. Just memes.
They're just jokes.
It's just memes. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you, Juan.
Absolutely, man.
I appreciate it.
It's been an honor.
You.
I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Thanks, buddy.
See you next time.
Absolutely.